Good evening to all of you who are attending this final Mass for the Novena for the repose of President Noy Aquino, both physically and virtually. You know, I find it very significant that this final day of the Novena for Pnoy falls on July 2, the first Friday of the month, the day we dedicate to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Perhaps I should call this homily a sequel to Father Jet Villarin's homily on the broken heart of Noy, his classmate at the Ateneo. This morning, as I was having my coffee with Jesus in the chapel, I was suddenly reminded of an earlier Atenista with a broken heart named Jose Rizal. Did you know that the young Jose Rizal, while studying at the Ateneo, carved a piece of wood using only a penknife and came up with a miniature image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus? I was given a replica of that image 2 years ago by Father Jet Villarin himself when he was still the president of the Ateneo, and my alma mater gave me the Bukas Palad Award in their 2019 Traditional University Awards. I have placed that image on my altar in my private little chapel here in my residence in Caloocan City. Well, just to give you an idea what it is like, here it is. Thank you, Ateneo de Manila, for this beautiful gift of the replica of the Sacred Heart of Jesus carved on a piece of wood by Jose Rizal himself. Early this morning, I had just opened my breviary in order to start my morning prayer when my eyes were fixed on this little wooden replica of the Sacred Heart. It was standing right there on my altar next to a lighted candle, and it reminded me that it was First Friday. So I found myself humming the devotional hymn to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. O Sacred Heart, O love divine, do keep us near to Thee, and make our love so like to Thine, that we may holy be. Habang tumutugtog ang kanta sa isip ko, parang nakita ko sa loob ko ang dalawang estudyante ng Ateneo na may sugatang puso, si Rizal at si Pnoy. I imagined the young Jose Rizal carving a piece of wood, but I asked myself, bakit kaya sa dinami-dami ng pwede niyang gawin, ang pwede niyang i-carve doon sa kahoy na yon, bakit kaya ang imahen ng Sagradong Puso ang napili niya? I wonder if you have heard of the parable about a little boy who watched as his grandfather produced a beautiful piece of sculpture of a lion carved out of one piece of wood. The parable ends with a question the little boy asked his grandfather. Tinanong daw niya, "Grandfather, how did you know that there was a lion in the wood?" And the grandfather answered, "My little boy, before I saw the lion in the wood, I saw it first in my heart. You see, we do not all see reality in the same way. Some people see nothing in a piece of wood but potential fuel for burning. Panggatong, kahoy na panggatong, ika nga. It takes an artist's heart, like that of a sculptor, to be able to see a lion in the wood. Today's gospel tells us people saw in Matthew nothing but a despicable sinner who collected taxes for the Romans. One day Jesus passed by. He looked at Matthew with his sacred heart and saw in this public sinner a potential saint and apostle, a future evangelist who would write for the world one of the 4 Gospels. Why did Jose Rizal see the Sacred Heart of Jesus in that little piece of wood? I think he also saw him first in his heart. He saw a Redeemer with a heart that was both wounded and burning. I think while yet at that young age, Jose Rizal could already feel a fire burning in his heart for his beloved country. I also imagine how his heart must have been torn back then between his love for the church and his love for his country. Sabi nga ng ating pambansang awit, kapag ang alab ng puso sa dibdib mo'y buhay, ang makikita mo sa sawimpalad na bayan mo ay isang lupang hinirang, duyan ng magigiting na sa manlulupig, hindi pasisiil. Sa palagay ko, nabighani si Jose Rizal sa larawang iyon ni Jesus dahil minulat sa kanya ng mga Heswita ang 3 damdaming nararanasan ng pusong tao ng anak ng Diyos. 3 bagay, ang pagkatakot, ang pagkasugat, at ang pagkabanal. Hindi ba nakapagtataka na sa Ingles, ang mga salita para sa takot, sugatan, at banal ay halos magkakapareho ang titik. Takot is scared. Sugatan is scarred. And banal is sacred. Scared, scarred, and sacred. He probably saw in the dynamics of the heart of Jesus the same dynamics that he felt in his own heart. He was also scared, as Jesus felt scared at the Garden of Gethsemane. Rizal was surely also scared of the call to take upon himself an additional R. Dagdagan mo ng R yung scared, magiging scarred. And the additional R is responsibility. That by embracing the call to take responsibility for his country, his scared heart became a scarred heart. But he also learned from Jesus that a heart burning with love would not mind getting scarred. It was the only way in which it could become sacred. Sabi nga ng kanta, and make our hearts so like to thine, that we may wholly be. But then again, he also had to be ready to deal with the pain of rejection. And the hymn to the Sacred Heart, meron siyang verse na ganito ang sinasabi, ungrateful hearts, forgetful hearts, the hearts of men have been. to wound thy side with cruel darts, which they have made by sin. Like Rizal, there was another man who saw a potential lion in a piece of wood. At a time when many Filipinos saw no future in their seemingly God-forsaken country, and many were even deciding to leave behind their country, the father of Pnoy, Ninoy Aquino, saw in it a country that was worth dying for. Ninoy Aquino did not realize that by embracing a sense of responsibility for his country, he had already begun to carve a lion out of his own son, Noynoy, or better yet, a heart that would also grow from scared to scarred to sacred. I am sure before Pinoy got pressured to run for president in 2010, he had also dreamed of a relatively more normal life for himself than the one that his own parents had had to live through. I am sure he had also bargained with God when he felt called and probably reasoned out with God that his father's violent death and his mother's sacrifice should be more than enough service for the country already. I am sure he thought of himself as unqualified for the job and was scared to follow his parents' footsteps because it would mean giving up his own dreams for himself. But when finally he embraced his parents' sense of responsibility, the additional R, he had himself already prepared to get bruised, wounded, broken, and scarred, like his own parents had been. Sabi nga daw ni Noy, matapos siyang ma-angioplasty at matanggalan ng bara ang puso, sabi niya kay Father Jet, yung isang klaseng broken heart, hindi kaya dito. Si Father Jet Villarin ang gumawa ng exegesis ng pangungusap na yon sa kanyang homily. Sabi niya, and let me quote him, kung broken-hearted si Noynoy, alam kong dahil din ito sa hati ang puso ng bayan. Ang dalamhati ng bayan, siya ring daladala ng taong ito. Sabi pa niya, ang broken heart ng ating bayan, hindi kaya dito sa ospital. Ang pagmamanhid ng puso, ang paglimot sa magiting na nakalipas, ang pagyurak sa dignidad ng kapwa, ang pagdududa sa kabutihan at pangangalyo at pangangapal ng puso. I do not want to end without paying a little attention to our first reading today from Genesis 23 and 24. The writer tells us, after Isaac lost his mother, he found solace in the woman who would become his wife. And that woman was Rebekah. After Noynoy lost his mother, Cory, I am sure he also had plans of finding his own solace in a woman with whom he could build a normal family. But alas, things did not seem to work out that way for him. Ano ba talagang nangyaring misteryo sa love life ni Pinoy? Salamat sa pinsan niya na si Rapa Lopa na nagsulat ng isang magandang artikulo sa diarist.ph tungkol sa love life ni Pnoy. Now I can give this homily a proper ending. I would have said the one he eventually decided to give his heart to was his country. No. It was the one Jose Rizal had carved with his pen knife. If the young Jose Rizal had carved the Sacred Heart of Jesus, Pnoy had decided to allow his life to be carved by the broken-hearted Christ. Here is how the cousin, Rapa Lopa, put it. And let me quote him. Looking back, I believe what happened in Carmel, Zamboanga. I'm sure you know what Carmel, Zamboanga means for the Aquino family. And that was also where Pnoy made his retreat when he decided to go for the presidency in 2010.